Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us and welcoming interdisciplinary artist Storme Webber to Washington State University. I'm Chelsea. I'm an instructor in the English department at WSU Vancouver, and I'm a co-organizer of the Visiting Writers Series, which is a collaboration of the Pullman and Vancouver campuses. This series is made possible by our partners, WSU Vancouver's College of Arts and Sciences and the Council for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, the WSU Pullman Native Programs, English Department, Academic Outreach and Innovation, the Honors College, the Common Reading Series, ASWSU, and Landescapes, the Campus Literary Journal. Thank you also to our amazing tech team, Rob Baker and Brian Varner, who always manage to make the virtual format run so smoothly. Special thanks to my co-organizers in this series, Pavithra Narayanan, Julian Ankney, and Cameron McGill, as well as the Visiting Writers Series interns, Emma Morales, Adam Sindak, and Megan McCormick. And thank you to all of you in the audience for making the time to be with us tonight. Before I pass off to Julian to introduce our guest speaker, we'd love to see you put in the chat where you're all from. Tonight, I'm on the homelands of the Chinookan and Tadinapam peoples and the Cowlitz Indian tribe. It's no secret that land acknowledgements are insufficient, often performative, and I think that's the point. That they are insufficient, and the brilliance of them. Land acknowledgements disrupt our lives and our moments together with the critical truth, with historical accuracy, and we cannot build a just world on a lie. Our series this spring is dedicated to bringing Native artists, activists, and scholars from around the region to honor and learn from their work and to help facilitate the changes we hope to see. Storme Webber's reading this evening is aptly related to our common reading book this year, Tales of Two Americas, Stories of Inequality in a Divided Nation. I think we're all aware by now of how deep those divisions run, and yet Storme's work has a way of linking past, present, and future with the spaces and places that recall memories of struggle, survivance, resilience, and perhaps above all, the creative fortitude to sing it all together again. Before we begin, a couple of housekeeping items. Please use the YouTube chat to engage and respond throughout the talk, and we'll also have a Q&A after Storme's reading where you can ask all of your questions. Our next event hosted by the Visiting Writers Series is on Wednesday, March 30th with Michelle Nyhouse. And finally, if you're here for the Common Reading event, we will put the Qualtrics link in the chat toward the end of the reading, so be sure to watch out for it. I'll now pass off to Julian Ankney to introduce our guest speaker.
Thank you, Chelsea. Aho. My name is Inamunik Dwas, Julian Ankney, Winnekissa. Julian is my name. Hitaliatsana Shlapwaipa. I reside in the Nez Perce Reservation in Lapwai, Idaho. It is my utmost pleasure to introduce you to Storme Webber. Storme is a two-spirit, Supiak, Black, Choctaw poet and interdisciplinary artist. She is second-generation, two-spirit, and lesbian. Her work is cross-genre, incorporating text, performance, audio, and altar installation, archival photographs, and collaboration in order to engage with ideas of history, lineage, gender, race, and sexuality. Her practice explores liminal identities, survivance, and decolonization, and does so in a blues, jazz-based experimental manner, often incorporating a cappella vocals. Her performance is described by artists Lee Wan as poetics/jazz. Storme has received numerous honors and residencies, including Hedgebrook, Ragdale, and Banff Arts Center, and recently was honored with the James W. Ray Award. Her first solo museum exhibition, Casino, a palimpsest, was written at the Frye Art Museum was presented at the Frye Art Museum in Seattle. Min Wen wrote in Art in America, rather than erect divisions between personal art and historical archives, Casino considered the intangible properties by which art and poetry are connected to family, ancestry, language, and public memory, revealing intergenerational underground histories of resilience. Storme studied at Lakeside School and holds a BA from the New School and an MFA from Goddard University. She is also a curator and has devoted years to foregrounding other marginalized voices since 2017 via her project Rising Voices, LGBTQ of Color, Arts, and Culture. Her most recent book and CD is Blues Divine, which we will link in the chat. She's currently at work on several interdisciplinary projects, including the next iteration of the exhibit Casino, a palimpsest. Without further ado, Storme Webber. Oh, oh.
And Storme, we are seeing you, so you should be good to speak.
Okay, great. First of all, thank you so much, Julian, for that amazing introduction. And thank you, Chelsea and Rob and Cameron and Mark for all your work to put this together. I really appreciate it. I'd also like to give thanks to Desiree Hilligers, who introduced us. I want to say it's really an honor to be a part of this program. It really is, and I really appreciate it. So I'm speaking to you from Coast Salish territory, the homelands of the Duwamish peoples. My grandmother my grandmother came here in the 1920s from Alaska. So my family has lived here for many, many years. And I'd just like to, as always, give thanks to my ancestors for bringing me this far, and give thanks to everyone who has the capacity to be here and be here in virtual space with us. I thank you. I'd like to dedicate this reading to my foster mother who's ill right now. Her name is Shan Adi, and she supported me for many, many years and has been a member of my family since I was 10 years old. So I just want to send the love out to her and send the love out to the world with thoughts of peace for everyone who is not experiencing and not living peace at this time. Thoughts for peace and for the positive future that we are working towards ourselves. I'd like to share some work with you tonight. I'm going to start with a piece that I often like to open with, and it's called Grace. Grace, ease on over me, because I live in music. And you can find me there in the discordance and confusion of everyday life. I'm there. In between a blue note and a new note, I'm there. Grace, ease on over me. See me and fall all over my everything, for there is nothing you cannot stand or understand. I trust myself in your hand. I can rest easy, because I know you love me. You always loved me. Through the bitterest seasons when rhyme left me stranded, you walked with me full of feeling and spoke in total silence. I swear Aretha Franklin has saved my life more times than I could count. And if Billy sent me sometimes to the 57th floor, why, she'd always find a way to sing me down. I could glide down easy on Charlie Parker with strings and find myself in April in Paris. Chestnuts in blossom. And somehow, at those moments, nothing else mattered. At those moments, nothing that is not music can touch me. Spirit swathes me like impervious armor, and I understand what keeps me living. You see, it's the sheer goddamn funky swing of it all, the mystery at the heart of it, and at the end of the road. I understand why Nana played that record, Songs to Torch By. Now, torching is not a widely known about thing anymore, but those folks knew. They knew how to get a misery out of you before it became fatal. Well, just roll yourself in it and let the tears and rage flow out. Let Billy carry that cross for you. She already died for your sins, don't you know? So when I get the lowdown miseries, I reach for the tried and true soldiers of survival, and they come singing and moaning and falling out and getting back up and exhibiting so much class and grace and style, till after some time, I feel my soul stretching and straightening up, filling my living frame, and I once again rejoin the human race. Music is my mistress, and she and I will never part. That piece, like a lot of the works, was written and inspired by my maternal grandmother, who was a Sugpiaq woman from Seldovia, Alaska, brought to Seattle as a girl. She found a great deal of spiritual power in jazz music, in Black music, and she was a singer. She studied singing, she sang all the time, and she set me on this road, and she made my way in more ways than I can say. So that's for my grandmother. I'd like to read another short piece. A few years ago, a family member found a photograph and shared with me of my great-grandmother in Alaska. And when I looked at it, I heard this. It's called What Great-Grandmother Told Me. So open the door, and behind it, an angry, implacable mountain arises. Don't be alarmed. Just breathe for a moment. The air is fresh and smells like cedar and snow coming. We have walked so far to reach this place. Let's just be still for a minute. There is enough light in your eyes. We can find our way. Always remember, others have walked this pathway, and our feet know what our minds have forgotten. Always, you are with us. I am there as I was the whole time when you never ever could recall. Here in this image, always dreaming you, as I feed these birds, messengers of spirit, always. The most massive, wise, ancient spirits travel just out of your vision or understanding. Read what I have left you. I know that you may think that it's not much, but read nevertheless. So much was broken. How they trampled over our lives. We did the best we could. Believe. Small village, vast sea. Political reasons why I could get liquor but not justice. See, I am seeing even through the fog. It's raining again. It's always raining. Sometimes it feels sweet to the skin, a caress, a misty kiss from the world. Other times it drives you down the road till you don't know anymore whether you're coming or going. I'm long gone, so they say, but hey, guess what? I'm right over your shoulder. You can kind of use a protection. You too, if you know what I mean. Anyway, I love you. Walk good and listen, as the poet said, more often to things than to beings. All will be well. Thank you. This is a different kind of experience, but I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity to share with you in these times. Let me see. You know, all poets do this, and I don't know why. you get ready, and then when it's time, you have to look for your things. It just happens. Okay, this is a new piece. I've read it not very often. I love it very much. It's called The Roll In, and it's actually part of the upcoming installations that will be arriving this spring. The Roll In. My Nana lived above the roll in. She did. And the waves rocked her soul from the roots. She knew the sea, though, as familiar as breath for 72 years. She was born there by the shoreline and understood the reach and fall back of it all. The land lived upon for more time than was known, taken from them in many ways, and one day their home erased. They were given just one small place to gather in, clapboard houses, thatched roofs. The home's mirrors to that moment of colonial collision and destruction, being both what was always and that which was coming towards them like a highballing train on a track. She came from adaptable Sugpiaks, indigenous mixed blood Creoles and Cossacks, Norwegian sailors and crosswinds from up north. She wore her beauty as shield in danger. She moved in grace. She had fallen down from a higher place, but she always rose again and again. My Nana never owned a house, but she had a rental above the roll-in, and roll on she did. Roll on and passed and through many a snare and danger. Some caught her. You would never know it though if you heard her laugh. Her laughter was a battalion of resistance. It swept across whatever it passed over and knocked back every misery, making room to breathe. Pass over, we'd pray without praying. It was our breath, each moment in constant danger. Pass over once more, we whispered to whoever could hear us. No one taught us to pray. But some things we remembered, more like the ways and the beauties we knew from time. What we remembered and what we could not call back clearly, but breathed in without effort. No American dream. We tried to stay awake and not drown. The water was so endless. Lucky we were seafaring folk. We came from people whose magicians dived to the heart of the ocean and returned to us, who could breathe underwater. The years falling down like those dope fiends who lost it, falling down sharp-edged casino stairs. The years falling down like gutter leaves, we gutter snipes, we lost and forgotten to history, like running faster to catch the rolling water before it swept into a storm drain of tragedy and gone. She has a room over the roll-in. The waves cast her there one time, and it was a refuge above the rollicking. She had a way of rolling and a way of roaring too, when need be. Left to her own, she was a sweet, fierce medicine. Like any ocean, she could take you out, roll up through any defenses with sheer and utter fearlessness. I've never known a more courageous human being. I saw that woman rise and the flames shoot through her jade eyes and her voice dip down through earth and return to carry back something of lava or earthquake. And no, at such times, whatever you thought you'd wanted to trouble out this woman, why, you would have fully and totally forgotten right at that instant. She was my hero, my teacher, the architect of my life. Okay, hold on. How about a short one? I'm gonna break up longer pieces with shorter pieces. I think that's good. There's a wonderful artist who said, it's our responsibility to remember. That's kind of what my work is. My work is memory, is research, and listening. It's listening. This is a story that is from Blues Divine. And thank you. I also have copies of this book. So if you wish to contact me through my website, I'm happy to also send you books directly. So Hit and Run. Bobby King tried to kill me before I was born. My 18-year-old mama, big bellied and crossing the road. Bobby behind the wheel, rolling past the famous Birdland, where Jimmy learned to burn. Flying high while driving. Bobby wheeling too loose, too far, too fast. Bam, knocked my poor mama through the air. Shock, crash, hit her. Though she must have tried to protect her baby. I survived. 8 months and counting to my 9. She broke her arm shielding her seed. Instinct won over ambivalence. It was a knockout. Cars can still panic me till now. I don't drive and can be a nervous rider as much as I do love the road. Mama, Nana, and me were at a Ray Charles concert. Ray was his blue-black genius self. The Raelettes sang and shimmied in those skin-tight sheath dresses, and it was solistically wonderful. Mama suddenly spied Bobby King in the crowd and shamed his style and frame by saying real loud, "Stormy, that man tried to kill you." He smiled real nervous-like and slunk away with the quickness. The other thing I remember is waiting backstage for a long, excited, hopeful time with my program in my little hand for Ray's autograph. A great big blustery white man looked down at me, gruff as could be, said, "He can't sign nothing. He's blind." I watched him scrawl Ray Charles himself and throw the program back at me. I fly forward 10 more years. I'm now 18 and a young lesbian trying to be player. I've just seduced my former caseworker, and I am lounging naked and brazen on her bed. Suddenly there's frantic, desperate knocking at the door. It's one and the same Bobby King, her recent ex, who dogged her out and is now begging, "Baby, please, please." Now, he never knew that the girl child he failed to annihilate with his half-ton of US steel was at that very moment upstairs, busy rocking his cradle better than he could rock his cradle himself. Life sure is funny, ain't it? Maybe, unless you're Bobby King. This next one is I'm going to give you what they say. I'm going to give you a trigger warning. This next piece is about domestic violence, because we need to talk about that. And we've had a lot of news coming out about public people who are abusive to women and children. And I will say I'm very proud of the indigenous community across this country in that they are never shy to call abusers to account. I thank you for that. Any other communities that are not doing that, let's do better. And it's not just to judge people and shun them and cancel them or, send them to a faraway place outside of our community, but it's also to create a set of values that are sustainable. Thank you. So this poem is, at the moment, it's just called Nevertheless, but I'm sure it might have another title. I want to also say I grew up in a community that included sex workers and pimps and traumatized people who were addicted. I know how vulnerable women get into trouble. I know how pimps weave their bullshit. I know how patriarchy looks down on these women and protects those men. I know the implied violence that surrounds their words. I know the fear that keeps silence and privilege protecting them. I ride with the women till the end. Nevertheless, one, she was my second butch stepfather, country farm girl, redneck from Ellensburg, square hands, square jaw, couldn't hold her liquor, but liked it too much. She kicked my mother in the face with her Cuban heel boot, broken nose. My mother with her broken arm while pregnant, twice broken nose between boots and dashboard and goofballs and drinking. Two, this year's after my mother, a girl of 9, is hit by a truck as she tries to save a kitten. Hit hard enough to knock her out of her saddle shoes. Now we know she had traumatic brain injury, wore a helmet for a year after my crazy-eyed grandfather went to Harborview, said, "Get my daughter out of this dog and cat hospital." 3, my grandfather kicked my grandmother in the head. Why, she told me she worried about my locks because she'd grown her hair long, and my grandfather came after her in a bar when they were separated. Wrapped his hand in her hair, threw her down, and smashed her skull with his blunt, heavy boots. She said she hadn't been the same since. 4, my father had a metal plate in his head, part bionic pretty man, driving a work truck, a teamster T-boned at the crossroads. I have a photo of him, head bandaged and smoking in his hospital bed, cool and swathed and still fly in a roguish, wounded kind of way. 5. Years later, I'm in the foster home. Man is beating the woman again, and I'm in the next room. He is allegedly my foster father, but actually a pimp by trade. I hear everything. I'm right there on the other side of the wall. This time he's beating her with a camera tripod, slinging her by her long hair, lots of wailing and crashing. He leaves their room. I come out of my room and sit on the edge of a chair, arms folded, stare at him with all of my 13-year-old contempt. If looks could kill, I'd have sent him to the fire. 6. He steps to me fast, says, his voice hissing like a 6-foot serpent, "Don't you ever look at me like that again," and slaps my head full on. And I slam into the wall and I fall. I couldn't tell if he punched me or slapped me. He bragged to me, he laughed that he'd slap me, said that if he'd punched me, I'd still be out. 7. About 2 days later, it was Thanksgiving. Why I never got into watching football. He watched it all the time. Anyway, they went out, argued on their way home. He got out the car, walking in the street on Aurora late that holiday night. Another car hit him, threw him 70 feet through the air. He broke no bones, but his skull was cracked open like an egg. And he never hit me again. Yeah. Okay. I'd like to read a shorter poem called Sinbad. This is a poem about my father. I didn't really know my father very well, but I would say probably other artists know this experience, creative people that, and spiritual people, that we have relationships with the ancestors. So I've been very thankful and very inspired by my relationship with my father since he's been in the spirit world. It's called Sinbad. Everyone wanted him. Hey, sailor. But to look now and know what is sad somehow. God don't like ugly. She ain't stuck on pretty neither. I mean, he was fine, just ridiculously. Let you just sit somewhere and be pretty for everybody fine. As a proper roguish fella does, he left several children scattered in the wind, all with various mothers, disconnected, only 3 known to each other. After the crash that broke his teeth and skull, he mused, I wonder who's gonna love me now I'm not so pretty. Imagine, yes, it was so, a man whose identity was his beauty, not his doings or possessions. So that year, that 45th go round of 365 days, he sat himself in a car with the dog in the back seat, turned on the engine to keep warm, and together they rode on to the afterlife. Now I always thought that was an Egyptian touch with a Texas Seattle variation on a theme of leaving. If you ever change your mind about leaving me behind, bring it to me, bring your sweet loving, bring it on home to me. Yeah. I don't know any of his dreams. I know that he ached inside, and sometimes he sent that anguish outward, just like a real man. I know everyone wanted him, that handsome, green-eyed, sexy smile somebody. I know that that filled a lot of hours, but in the end made nothing better. He set sail alone and left no maps behind. Hey, sailor. Let's see how we're doing here. I have another piece that I wrote about my father as a means to get to know his journey. And it's helped me as well to travel backwards and reach to know the ancestors before him on that side. And it's been very rich, a very rich and rewarding journey. I just found another ancestor. They are returning to me because I'm looking for them. This piece is called Buddy Rabbit, which was a nickname that my father gave himself. So it kind of says something about his state of state of adventure, shall we say. Buddy Rabbit. There is a man, and he is still. His body is immobile, inert as clay. His flesh is heavy, but his spirit has taken flight. He flies timeless, witnesses his life unraveling in reverse. Let us say he remembers one day, maybe like many others, swinging loose-limbed down the avenue early one summer evening, with the air made soft and fresh by rain. The city a series of ascensions and descendings over hills and valleys he did walk, stride, strut even. He felt open, expansive. His family had migrated to Seattle from East Texas when he was a boy, leaving much pain behind in the piney woods, or so they thought. He recalled Texas as tight, hot, coiled like a rattlesnake somehow. This green place, cozied in by mountains, gave a man some breathing room. Right now, this man we are walking with, as he breathes, is flowing inevitably as the tides to the bar named the Roll Inn. The path is worn well by his footsteps. Sometimes I wonder what kind of thirst make a man walk that road for so long. What sweet water waiting? Was it some hellhound on his trail, snuffling cinders and baying for his blood? Ever notice how Black people as a general rule don't like no eager stray dogs? Do the words Underground Railroad mean anything at all to you? But I digress. It must have been that mention of Texas, dear old Texas. Led the nation in lynchings then and executions now. Don't mess, they say. You can kind of see how it remembered slavery to my mind. Anyway, we were traveling with the gent whose name means friend, Buddy, and he's feeling particularly friendly tonight. The Roll Inn wasn't a fancy place. It lived right up to its name. Easy. Folks, firewater, drunken fellowship. These things you could count on. So here comes Buddy, slim, rangy, easy muscle, a light, laughing, stepping dance around the pool table. Old friends and new friends, and a beer, another drink, a chaser, one more for the road. He had always been mischievous, willful, full of fun. A man who walked and often staggered through his days till they were done, not without laughter. An old blues woman was once asked about life. She answered, "What do I do when I'm hurt?" Why, I laugh, of course. Papa did, Mama too, as Otis would tell you. And as I'm laughing, people, I'm feeling round neath the bed for my traveling shoes. Yes, mostly he wore a smile that made most folks smile back whether they wanted to or not. That disarming grin could have cleared many an open road, and him all full with the blues man's longings. Yet something kept him tethered, clipped his wings. Down here on the ground, he flashed an angel's smile and carried on like the devil's son-in-law. Looked like he was trying to repopulate the earth all by himself, his mama said with a rueful laugh. She'd put his age up a year at 16 to get him into the Navy and safely away from wild ramblings in Seattle. What convinced her was the birth of his first son that year. He flat out denied it was his. But when the child was seen by his sister and mother, they recognized their wayward boy in the baby's face. Asked him straight out why he was lying. Said the child looked just like him. Mama took him to enlist herself. The service was still segregated in those days. He found himself in the regiment band, which was led by Bumps Blackwell. Now, Bumps had come straight from his regular gig at the Black and Tan Club in Seattle, and the band did swing. A friend from the neighborhood named Quincy Jones held down the trumpet. Buddy, all 5'8" of him, brought the low, deep soundings with his tuba. Aside from that creative side trip, he played sailor with a vengeance. There is a photograph of him with 8 other rakish fellows, hats all translations of sideways. On the back, he lists their names and aliases. Himself, he notes as beautiful buddy, and vice versa. Came home with an anchor tattoo on his arm and plenty hazy memories of carousing gone by. A lot of pictures of women he'd never see again. The discipline of drink he kept to with a military precision for the rest of his life. So he finds his way to a whiskey bar where he celebrates nothing with great hilarity. Most nights, he discovers a face to smile into, arms to fall amongst, drunken and exhausted. But this night, which began so carefree, this night spirals slowly downward. Outside, the rain has returned steady, and the liquor looses rumbling, angry notes in him, and he swallows more to dull the sound. Sip by sip, he disappears. And when the lights come up at the roll-in, passed out, propped up in the corner, is the devil's son-in-law himself. I imagine him replaying these scenes. He finds it strange to watch these pictures flashing before him so quickly. Looks for the joy in the merriment, finds little there. Maybe he holds a final conversation in his rambling way. So I says to myself, I says, self, I am falling, but I don't mind it. Let me rest. I have run up and down these roads for so long, looking for what I ain't never found. I am weary, tired of all you sons of bitches and mother huggers too. Just let me go on now. I know this car ain't moving, but it feels that way. I can taste Mama's sweet potato pie like in Marshall, and it's hot in here, just like Texas a long time ago. Hush, dog. What you whimpering for? You better just stand up on your back legs and take it like a canine. I wish I could tell Mama I love her. I wish I could tell my children, take back every hurt I ever gave anybody who didn't deserve it. Maybe all alone he spoke those words to the air. His death certificate lists his place of birth, Marshall, Texas, his place of death, a garage in Seattle, and his usual occupation, detail man. That paper lied. All that man left was a few scattered metaphors, the memory of a smile fleeting, an easy rider who took the hard road to the end of the line. A few people on earth who ride the bloodline of a stranger, like a train whose point of origin is unknown. Everything vanishing slowly, slowly, until all that remains is the hiding in plain sight of that smile. The wind sighing, the high, lonesome whistle of the train. Finally, just the heartbeat of the tracks. Thank you. I would also like to acknowledge that this piece I've just read, Buddy Rabbit, was developed with the help of the CD Forum, Central District Forum here in Seattle, a fellowship that allowed me to develop this into a performance piece with a brilliant director by the name of Jen Hammond. So let me see, how are we for time? Okay, I think we are about there. I'm going to close with this poem, Ode to Blues. And again, I thank you so much for being here virtually. So we're being here together. Thank you. Ode to Blues. Safe thus far, the blues has brought me through. This I know to be true. Yes, it wasn't nothing but the blues. Yeah, the gut bucket stomped down. Shoot out the lights. It's too damn funky in here. All blues. The well is a real motherfucker. Well, what's thrilling you is killing me, say, 'cause your worries ain't like mine. Blues reaching back to where in Africa a moan rose and spiraled into a wail across the Atlantic, to this strange land where we were enslaved and our drum outlawed. Fools never thought to be concerned with what they call darky songs. Too simple to know what those songs were telling us. Who was running that night? When? Where? How? Blue gospel told us what we needed to know. Steal away, steal away, steal away home. I ain't got long to stay. Yes, we did. And not to know Jesus, let us now praise the blues in the deep of the dark, of the darkest night. Barefoot through the swamp, can't see your hand in front of your face. Neither that cottonmouth easing up on your sweet baby girl, knowing that Harriet kept that pistol at hand for the weary and the fearful. While nothing but the blue woo 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 could explain how to go on through. Don't say nothing to me about pilgrims or pioneers. I got your profiles encouraged, my fellow Americans. That soul music was comforting, winding, rolling, soothing through our spirits somehow. Most would have just lay down and died, and you know that is a stone truth. Paddy rollers on horseback in hot pursuit, hounds just obeying, and those hoops and hollers those white men let out when they get to thinking about the reward money, or how much somebody called a likely wench or a strapping buck might fetch at auction. Now, as if slavery wasn't enough, as if manifest destiny wasn't enough, surely that would be more than sufficient to make a body feel the low down blues. Start those blues flowing just like that Ohio River we only had to get crossed to freedom. So all I could say is, hail the blues, queen bee of music, mother of all North American music roots. Blues, hey, you made a way out of no way. Blues, oh blues, you made my back strong, my heart not fall splintered and tore up out my chest. My feet take that, my feet take that, my feet take that one more step. Oh, if ever a song could rise and take form, it would have to be you, oh blue, black, mighty, mighty tone, the way you held me. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Oh, no, nobody. But you, yeah, hollering like a mountain jack. When I hear you, I know you. And I know I'll be all right by and by. Same way you held my mama and hers before, and all reaching back in your eternal arms. Blues, I love you. Be you moan, shout, shuffle, or stomp, I'm there. Turquoise, lapis, sapphire, indigo, sea, and sky. Let me count the ways you appear in my heart, and to my wondering eyes and ears, I feel you, O song of my deepest soul. Rising from way back from Africa to Houston, Texas, Plain Dealing, Louisiana, Mississippi, and let us not disremember sweet home, Chicago. I said, come on. Said, baby, don't you want to go to where the blues amplified herself so as to rise above the din of the L train, the stockyards, and the steel mills, home of storefront churches pumping blue gospel, or is it gospel blues onto the urban prairie, and the juke joints just a juking on, and the juke joints just a juking on. Why, before we ever marched with eloquent signboards, Muddy threw back his head and roared, I'm a man, yeah. And Miss Coco Taylor pitched her wang dang doodle set all night long. Listening from a place deep inside where the tone meets the note, in love with candlelight warm, meets the note, encounters the rhythm in a sweet sway of step. Hold me in your arms like a voodoo child, baby. Ooh. Blues, I love you. And I don't know what I say, but I swear I'm gonna love you till the very day I die. Let us now praise, oh, the blues. Thank you.
Stormy, that was amazing. You're so captivating. Like I think I speak for everyone like on the chat when I say like your voice is like medicinal, you know? It's just like so soothing, and thank you. Like such a gift to hear you, really. I have lots of questions. Anthony is asking, he says, many modern day musicians seem to write music but not fully comprehend the power they hold. People enjoy a beat independent of the lyrics, or the lyrics without need of the beat. How can we return music to the days like the blues, where the instruments and the lyrics were both heard by the audience?
I think that, just do your work, just create. Yeah, go back to whatever analog gives you pleasure. I've recently decided to learn how to play the guitar, but not for performance, just because of thinking of this magic instrument, right? That has traveled through time and brought us such glory. So I appreciate that point of view, and I will be looking for your work, because it seems like you're reaching for something that is a deep root, that we need all of our deep roots, I think, at the moment. I love the future. I love I love the innovations, and I want to learn more about them. But yeah, the roots, we need the roots.
I also I just have to ask, like you talk a lot about bodily memories and feeling something in your body, and something that we've been talking about a lot in class is how disembodied written language can be. And so I'm curious to know like how you access those kind of bodily memories, or how you kind of put those things together, if they were ever separate for you.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's an interesting process, a lot of the work, it almost seems as though I'm listening for what the ancestors want me to tell of the story. Because, there's a lot of shame that has been placed upon us, women, Native people, Black people, poor people. There's so much shame, and that is meant to silence us. So my work is to try to place myself in almost walking with them, walking with my ancestors. What was this like for them? Because it's easy to judge them when you're young. You judge them and you're angry. I left home when I was 11 years old. I had to be pretty angry to leave home at that age. As you get older and you understand how hard life is, for me, I found that I wanted to understand more, what was their journey? How did that happen? Without just saying they were bad people, because they were traumatized people. Colonialism and racism and misogyny and patriarchy did, a number on them. So I guess, yeah, I appreciate that you said that. No one has particularly said that to me just in that way, and it's very helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I like it just seems like listening to you and watching you, that you like go to that place, and you talk about the roll in, and it just seems like you go back to that place. And I love the line, listening to a place deep inside where the tone meets the note, and this sort of like resonance and like harmony. Would you describe that as like an intuition, or like how would you describe that?
Well, I think, my first and most important teacher was my grandmother. And she was my Alaska Native grandmother. And so she came from a culture that was just a very rich and deeply rooted culture, obviously, for all those 10,000 of years living in a harsh place, finding spiritual strength and brilliance and to survive in such a condition. So she came with this spiritual wealth. And she taught me so much about music. And so I would say that she was the key for that.
That's beautiful. The Collective for Social and Environmental Justice, which might be Desiree. I think it's Desiree. Hi, Desiree.
Hi, Desiree.
They say, can you speak a bit about the relationship between your poetry and your archival/museum exhibition work?
Yes. I have to write this down because I start wandering and then I get to the end of the thing and I say, what was I wondering about? Yeah, for years I was just so fascinated with the photographs. It just was a certain thing that struck me. And I guess it's, being a cultural worker and an artist, like I remember that my grandmother's albums. I remember Dakota Staten with her, with her red lipstick and her red nail polish, and this way she was turning, and the song. So I connected this beauty, particularly this femme beauty and this beauty of women, with this magic of this music that my grandmother would sing. So I was always thinking of visual and then the language and using them both to tell stories. And of course, many people have said this, until lions tell their stories, tales of the hunt will always be told by the hunter. So being a Black Native person, I come from two families of people that have been incredibly exploited and oppressed. Right? So it's important for me to tell these stories, because even now, and even more so now, the way that books are. They're trying to ban books. They're trying to retell the stories. Then who controls the narrative has the power, you know. And as we live in this crumbling empire here, and it becomes more and more important for us to look at what happened so that we can continue to go forward with the youth and with all of us who are working to dream a better world. But we need to know what happened. We need to know the truth. And my family didn't have the opportunity to tell. So I feel that, yeah, that's my work.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Daniel wants to know who or what are some of your biggest influences on your voice?
Okay, my grandmother, who, you know, sang a lot, especially with Billie Holiday, When I was younger, I didn't like her. I had to get older to understand what she was, you know, her voice. And when I was younger, I loved, well, my grandmother's favorite singer was Billie. My mother's favorite singer was Janis Joplin. And she also, I mean, they were both had exquisite taste in music. So Janis Joplin, Dionne Warwick, Aretha, of course, Aretha. Before I left home, I remember I was like 10 years old, and I would just play Ain't No Way, like again and again and again. And it explained to me something about my relationship with my mother, you know. And yes, it was a song about a love relationship as an adult, but the beauty that came through there. Yeah. Did that answer the question? If I don't answer the question, you can ask me again. And
I mean, yeah, I can hear all of those voices in your voice. You know, I don't know your grandmother, but the weight of it is there, and the power, and the ways in which, like, hearing a song like that can change the context for you. You know, and you can have these relationships with it throughout your life that are shifting. And
absolutely. And I worked with the wonderful curator for the Fry exhibition, Casino at Palimpsest. Uh-oh, my machine is gonna run out. And hang on, we've got 2 more minutes. Hang on. What was I gonna say? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, now I'm distracted. Can you fill in while I go and get my plug?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Hello, everyone. Short intermission because of a technical difficulty.
So sorry. The one thing I forgot. Oh, Jesus. Okay, I'm with you.
All right.
I wanted to say also that another important thing is when I worked with my most amazing curator, Miranda Bellardi Lewis, she told me that Alaska Native women are noted for their deep voices. So this is, I'm still working on the power situation. I don't know how I forgot that part, but that was important. I guess, you know, you think you're not nervous, but you actually are. So forgive me.
I'm nervous too. Talking to you. Are you serious?
Okay. Oh, good. I just spilled my tea on my poetry. It's all wonderful. It's good. Okay. Yeah. So I think that's it. Yeah, it's just, my mother and my grandmother both had really strong voices. My mother didn't sing, but her voice was very impressive. It could rattle your bones.
Yeah.
So when Miranda told me that, I said, oh, that makes perfect sense. So, yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right. Well, we have just a final question.
Okay.
This is from Kristen. Hi, Kristen. She says, Storme, your performances / readings are so eloquent, smooth, and confident. Did you face any challenges with stage fright at the start of your career, or has it always been natural for you?
Oh, no, absolutely. I had tremendous stage fright at my first performances. I was about, I think, 19. And, you know, I used to have to, kind of have a drink or something before I went up there. So I have been working now. I mean, I've been doing this for decades now. So, and I was very fortunate to develop my craft amongst some really brilliant people, and also have had experiences in cultural communities, living in cultural communities in London, in Berlin, in Amsterdam, in New York, in San Francisco. And so it's just, practice, just keep doing it. Yeah.
That's good to hear that you're not, you're not just perfectly confident and you just came, out of the sky that way.
Nah. And I spilled my tea on my poetry here. I forgot to plug in. Like, come on. We're all human, right? Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Stormy. Like, I just want to talk to you forever. I know others are like, where can we get her CD? We just want to listen to your voice. So it's been such an honor having you. Hopefully, someday we can have you in person.
Love that.
And get to see each other in that way. But thank you again so much.
Thank you everyone for being here.
Yeah, you can, for all of you watching, you can click on the link for Storme Webber's website to access her CD, Blues Divine, or get the hard copy. Thank you all for being here, and I hope you have a wonderful night.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Chelsea.
Thank you.
Okay. Hey. Oh my goodness, I spilled tea and everything.
You're so amazing.